Hi everyone, this is Tanya from Flying Dog Studio. Thank you so much for joining me as we do something a little bit different. Instead of painting with our heads, we're going to paint with our hearts. This is a little piece that I did some time ago, kind of a little fun piece, and I wanted you to use some of the techniques in this book. This is my experiment book. If you've not met it before, here it is, and I'll put some links down below to some of the pieces I've done here and where I re-glued this book. I already have a page taped off. Yeah, this is one that I had to rebind because it kind of fell apart on me. I had done the Coptic stitch, and it's a long story, but I do talk about it in another video, which I'll link below. I've decided to use in this book from Winsor & Newton, their Cotman series, my 13mm flat brush. I have some water, and then I also have some salt over at the side because in that little piece I just showed you, those little white areas, that's actually some areas that I sprinkled with salt and then came back and painted some gouache on top. Now we're not going to use gouache in this. Instead, we're going to use the Kuretake set, and I'll have that linked below as well. A lot of links for you. I did switch out and put in the gold. That's what you saw in the center of that one. I replaced the cadmium scarlet with the gold, and this set will stay like that. I took that cadmium scarlet out. When we start on this piece, normally I have the colors on the screen. I'm not going to do that because I want you to paint with your heart, not mine. My heart said indigo blue, but your heart may say red or purple or green. I mean, it's up to you, whatever your heart says. I am starting with a dry piece of paper, and I'm using a lot of water on my brush. So this is wet on dry, and I'm going to do it a little bit different at the bottom so you can see which technique you like best. The trick to this one is to use a lot of water in your brush, and I'm going to tilt it here. You can see that that paint is only going to go where you put the water. So when you have all that water in your brush, just be mindful of where you're pushing it around, because that is where your paint is going to go. Now up in the top part, and I guess we're going to call that the sky, because when I got finished with it, I was talking with my daughter and I said, you know, it kind of looks like an abstract landscape, don't you think? And she said, oh, absolutely. So we'll call that the sky, even though I didn't really have in mind, it seems like everything I've done in this book so far has been some sort of landscape. So I guess we're on a theme here. I wasn't really trying to theme this book when I started it, but I think that's what we're on now. So anyway, let's keep going with the piece here. I have the sky completely filled in. We're going to put a little bit of salt up here because, again, remember I did that on the other one. I'm not going to put the gouache on it. Like I said, not doing the gouache, but I want you to see what this does in the top part, because we're going to compare it with another technique in just a minute that's going to be very similar. Now, top part was wet on dry. We're going to do wet on wet this time. So I'm getting a nice water line across there, being careful not to touch the blue. And if I touch the blue and it comes down, it's fine. It's not going to hurt my feelings. But I want that little gap so that I can paint the gold in there, because the gold actually works best if you're painting on white and not another color. So let's add what we're going to call the ground in our abstract landscape piece. And you can see, since I already have the water down there, how that brown just kind of pulls on down where the water is. So I would tell the kids that's osmosis. It's going from an area of greater concentration to an area of lesser concentration. And I don't think I have to tell you how much they hated it when I would give them a science lesson in the middle of art class, but it was just part of my charm. So they got a little bit of that, and occasionally a math lesson too, since I used to teach math as well. So I'm going to keep adding some colors on the bottom. Again, just colors that I feel like I want to put together, because I really did like the yellows and the browns, and then that sap green up there. I liked those, and I really wanted to work those together. Now let's take a look at another technique. I'm only putting water on my brush. You can see the salt has taken effect, but look at this technique. I'm going to just drop water on the page, a few big drops, and now I'm just tapping my wet brush, and you can see it's spreading out sort of like the salt is at the top. Now the salt will be a little bit different than the water droplets. And if you used alcohol, I don't have any alcohol on hand, but you could do this with alcohol and it gives another entirely different effect. So I'm pulling out something else to work with here. These are my Winsor & Newton watercolor pencils, and I love these. And this happens to be one of my favorite colors. This is turquoise. I didn't really know how I wanted to use it, so I just made some random lines across the bottom and kind of did them horizontally and then did some vertical lines in the middle. And I was looking at it thinking I would like to activate these, but I didn't know exactly how they were going to activate with the stuff that was already on there, and they didn't activate very well. You'll see here in just a minute the area where I'm painting right there. I'm going to come back and add just a little more turquoise and kind of fill it in, and that activates a bit, but it's not activating the way I want it to. Now, if you're going to use this technique where you're drawing into wet paper like this, just be certain to use a light touch. If you bear down really hard, you might compromise the integrity of your paper and get a hole in it. But you might want to bear down a little bit harder. That's a technique as well. When you do that, you're going to create kind of a little trench in the paper itself. So any other color you put on there is going to run down into that little valley that you create with a pencil. Or I've seen some people use like sharp things to go across their paper. Makes me so nervous, but it turns out well for them. Now you can see I sprinkled just a little bit of salt on there. Now the paper is completely dry, and you can tell the difference between the salt and the water droplets. And the reason I put a little more salt down at the bottom, because I went back over stuff with the brush and putting the turquoise down there, it kind of spread all that out. But the top part, the blue part, you can still see that there are water droplets and salt up there. And they look very similar, just a little bit of difference in the way they kind of spread out. So just something to think about. Now, if you're going to purchase one of the metallic colors from Kuretake, I highly suggest you do so. I kind of want a whole set of it, and I apologize, my head's getting way at the bottom left-hand side of the screen, just now noticing that. But you will need to paint it on the white. At least that has worked best for me. It shows up a lot better. It's a lot brighter, and you're going to want to put it on pretty thick. So this is me going back over it again. It's going to look kind of brown at this point, especially the angle that you're looking at it, which is straight from the top. But when I tilt it a little bit, and I'll do that later on in the video, you should be able to tell that it has a bit of a shine to it. I'm also going to sprinkle some of that gold on at the end so you can see how it looks on the color. I could have left it like this, but I wanted to play just a little bit more, putting a little more pencil on here, trying to decide if I want to leave it dry, if I want to add some more lines, because I'm just kind of making this up as I go. When I am working on art, it helps me to process. And if I'm working on something that I'm really having to think about, I don't process as much. When I'm working on something that I'm just putting down whatever color I feel like, or picking up a pencil and drawing whatever I want, and I'm not really thinking about it, then I can process things much better. I've also discovered about myself, if I just pick up a pen or a pencil and start drawing in a sketchbook, and I don't really have a plan, and I'm not filming it for you guys, or it's not going to go to anybody else, it's just for me, I end up doing some of my best work. And it's at that point I go, man, I should have filmed this. But I realize that if I film it, I'm paying a lot of attention to it, and I can't really draw and paint, as my daughter says, with my heart. I'm doing it more with my head. So if you are having a hard day, if you have had to go to work and do what your boss says, or your kids or your grandkids are running you from one place to the next, and you really haven't had time for a moment to yourself, I suggest you take some time and do something like this, because it really helps the stress of the day to kind of melt away. However, with this particular piece, even though I'm painting with my heart and I'm processing and I'm having a good time, I'm wanting to add one more thing to this piece. I have one more thing in my arsenal that I enjoy using, but that thing is about to stress me out. So I'm going to persevere though. We're going to get through it because I'm looking at this thinking I really, really want to do one more thing, and it's not paint. So I'm going to pull the tape off. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to pull out my Posca pen. Now, if you've never used a Posca pen, basically it is an acrylic pen. So that little tip on the end, that little felt tip, when you first get it or when you start using it and you haven't used it for a while, you have to kind of prime it. You push it down on a flat surface like a piece of paper and pump it a couple of times, and the paint will come down and feed into that little nib. However, when it starts to get a little older, like my pen, I've had this for maybe a year or so, it'll run out of ink, or I should say paint, and then it starts doing what it's doing now. It'll make little globs. See, there's a little glob, and then it'll do a really thin line. And when you go over and try to prime it and you pump it, and I'm pumping mine on a palette, and I'll pull that over to the side in just a minute and show you what I'm talking about. You get a puddle of paint, but the pen is still kind of dry. It'll work for like half a dozen marks, and that's it. Now, it doesn't hurt my feelings because once I start working with it, I realize, you're trying to make things perfect, and I actually kind of like these globs. I'm even able to come back and use the tip of the pen and kind of, as you can see right there, use it to move that paint around just a bit on the surface. So I actually ended up liking it. But here we go. Here's what the palette looks like. You can see there's most of the paint that was inside that pen, and I'm having to use it more like a fountain pen at this point, a felt tip fountain pen. So I'm just reaching over there and getting the paint and bringing it back to the paper. So it makes the process a little bit longer than what it would actually take had my pen been working properly. But I'm thinking about hanging on to this as long as it still has a little bit of paint left inside. I mean, I can keep getting things like this. And again, I kind of liked how the lines would fade out, and then I have some darker lines in there. They would have been more uniform had it not been almost empty, but this kind of worked for me. So, it stressed me out at first, and I thought, oh great, I'm taping this. I probably shouldn't have added this on here, but I really wanted to because I like the white lines. It's something that kind of draws your eyes down to the bottom, and like I said, as you can see, I can dip it in there and kind of paint with it. I actually thought about bringing out a brush, but I didn't have any of my small acrylic or multimedia brushes handy. Mainly I had my watercolor and one wide acrylic brush, so I decided just to keep working with what I had, and I ended up liking the piece. And that's the thing about these intuitive paintings. You work with what you have and you do what you feel. And at this point, I am feeling like I want some more gold paint. So that is what I decided to work with next. And I went ahead and cut out all of the lining part because, like I said, that took much longer than I expected because of the situation. So here we go. We've brought back out the Kuretake, and I love that gold. And I'll show you in just a few minutes what it actually looks like, and I'll do a close-up at the end. So wait to the end and you'll see what this looks like when it's all shiny, because I love the shiny. So I don't want to lose all my green and all my turquoise, but I do want to come back in and add some gold in some of these little lines in between the white. So I'm keeping the turquoise, I have the white, and now I'm adding the gold on top. And again, if you'll want this to show up, you're going to have to add quite a bit of the paint to your brush. And the best way to achieve that, now all these Kuretake, you have to wet them before you start. You don't want them to dry out. You don't want them to crumble. Sometimes watercolors will do that. So if you wet them evenly, then you should be okay on stuff. But what I do is I add some water and I let it kind of soak in just a bit. and that softens everything up. So when I stick my brush in, I do what I always tell the kids not to do. I would say, don't dig down in there, just touch it lightly. You can see I'm putting a little pressure on it when I'm digging down into the well. It's almost digging into the well because I want to use it more like acrylic and less like watercolor. It's the only way I can get it to really shine, especially when you're putting one color on top of the other. And I think you'll be able to tell the difference between that line going horizontally that's on the white and what I'm painting now. This allows some of that bottom color to come through just a little bit, and I just feel like the gold is not quite as vibrant. Let me know what you think in the comments. You may think it's perfectly fine, but I kind of like it a little more sparkly. I'm not a glitter person. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. This is the closest thing to glitter in an art project that you're going to see me do. I think that the devil invented glitter, and if you've ever taught children, you will understand that. Now I'm going to do a little flicking of paint here, just tapping it. We're going to start with, I was so excited about this. We're going to start with a small brush, and then we're going to pick up a bigger brush because it holds a little bit more. And I don't get bigger droplets. Okay, you can see it's shiny, and I think the white is a little shinier than what is on stuff that's already colored. But the bigger brush is not going to give me bigger drops. It's actually going to give me thicker drops, and you'll see that in a minute. So this piece is almost finished, guys. Few more touch-ups, then I'm done. If you made it to the end, kudos to you. I hope you will go out and try one of these on your own. You don't have to use what I used. Use anything you'll want. I have a lot more stuff coming up. I have some Beatrix Potter. Don't forget to vote on my next piece. Be looking for that on my post. And friends, I will see you in the next one.